that we neglect doing things that are necessary to keep family life going well because there's so much seva to do. It's very, very common. So you have to be careful, and that's where balance comes in. Just, don't succeed by don't succeed by failing. So the fact is that we're married and we have certain responsibilities, and relationships develop when husband and wife do things together, not just service, but just be together and interrelate. So there has to be enough time for that. Otherwise the relationship degrades, it erodes, and guaranteed the wife will complain, men, if you don't do that. That's my ironclad money-back guarantee. If you neglect, because women are relationship-oriented, so if you neglect talking to them on a regular basis, if not every day, you're going to see them unhappy and complaining. Just depending on how tolerant they are is how long it'll take before they start complaining. So that's important. So we have to balance it. And being a grihastha means there's limitations in the amount of seva we can do, especially when we have kids. When the kids are growing up, maybe we take Vanaprast, we're not working anymore, then we'll be together all the time doing service. But now that's important consideration. So you have to make some sacrifice sometimes. It's just how it is. Or sleep less, or get your work done faster, or, You can't, it's like, it's a reality that there's only 24 hours in a day, so there's limitations upon what we can do. Right?
Like earlier you used to do so much book distribution because you didn't have a daughter. Like I could go every day, stand in the market and sell books. But now it's not possible because there's so many other things to do.
Yeah.
But Prabhu is frustrated sometimes. We're not doing book distribution every day. We're not doing this. And how to...
Possibly I am not doing.
Yeah. Well, if we accept the reality that we have duties that we have to take care of, we can't neglect, then we're okay. If we don't accept that reality, we get frustrated. Prabhupada always said, your children are your first duty. That's your main duty. So, take care of your children, make sure that they become Krishna conscious. That's your duty as a householder. So, we're not sannyasis, so we have to adjust accordingly. Now,
and there's not enough mercy then coming from the Lord. You're not doing service.
No, but taking care of your kids is service. So, and we made the point also. So let's say you're being pushed. You go out on book distribution. You neglect your daughter. You're in anxiety. Then you come home, and then the relationship is not good because you feel pressured. And then what kind of example are we setting for the 20,000 neighbors in the area? You say, come to a program. You say, no way, I'm not coming. I can hear you guys fighting all the way down the road. If I become a Hare Krishna, I'll become like you. No, I'm not coming to your program. You see? So, your example is very important. Right? So, yes?
As we said in the discussion, normally male are driven by egos and they are process-oriented and they are logical, commanding achievements to meet these things. And females are mostly emotion-driven, and they want to discuss, they want to vent out, and in the discussion also you said sometimes because of. It's okay, I can speak louder also.
We can hear it. They can hear it on the recording.
Okay. My question is, you said mostly in general, male are ego-driven or the logical, rational, they want to give solutions, but the females mostly they are emotional. Relationships, and they want to discuss the things. They are not interested in the answers or the logical solutions. They just want to discuss. But sometimes some females have got that male hormones also a little bit. And in that case which I have experienced, one of my college friends, she married and she had that type of hormones, and almost she married 3 years prior to my marriage, and almost she is now 20 years in married life, and they are not in good terms. So whenever I ask her, and I have seen one of my uncle also, uncle and auntie. So auntie is also like that. So the problem is, suppose man understands. Okay, I understood. So we should listen to her. Let her vent out and peacefully listen. But sometimes what happens? Apart from listening, they want solutions also. Sometimes if you do not give solutions, sometimes he wants to just vent. So it is very difficult to
You
understand.
just ask her, like we said.
What exactly what they need is very difficult.
Yeah.
To
So
understand.
he's saying sometimes you don't understand the need of a woman, or a woman may not understand the need of the men. Just ask. Just ask. She's talking, and then, like I said, you ask. Do you want a solution, or do you want me to listen? Just ask the question, because you don't know. Simple.
It is not only the discussion part. Throughout their life, these things are continuously going on.
So ask.
I have seen two families like that.
Yeah, I have yeah. But sometimes you don't know unless you ask. You know? I mean, if you're married long enough, you kind of start to understand when you should do a solution and when you don't. Because sometimes you try to do a solution, they'll get upset and say, what do you think, I'm stupid? I can't do this? Right? Why are you doing that? I can do that. So you know. Sometimes there's, the woman's ego sometimes gets aroused because they feel like you're trying to dominate and control everything, and so they'll push you off and say, just let me do this myself. I don't need you. So you just have to be sensitive to that and not be upset with it, but just understand that's the female nature. And at the workshop we were explaining that because a man is more independent, he is supposed to be able to deal with that female nature when it's sometimes unpredictable and be tolerant of it. And if he's not tolerant of it, then he's not doing his job as a man. Right? But most men, they get upset with it and they tell their wives, why are you like this and why aren't you straightforward? No, but you understand that's the female nature. It's not always straightforward. There's a story in one book I read, and we'll get to your questions out there in a moment. There's a story in a book I read where a man and woman were driving, maybe they were married or husband or boyfriend and girlfriend, and she said, would you like some coffee? And he said, no, I'm okay. And he kept driving, and she got really upset. And he said, why are you upset? And she said something like, you can't understand. Or, He had no idea what was going on. But by saying, would you like some coffee, she meant, I want some coffee. Right? And there's another example where a woman gets upset or says something, gets upset. A man has no idea because he didn't do anything. But he's driving his car and he sees a flashing engine light. And he's trying to figure out what it is. And she's looking at his facial expression and she thinks he's responding to what she said, but he's responding to the... So all these things are going on in her mind, and she's telling him all these things. But in his head, he's like, I have no idea what she's talking about. And he's focused on the engine light. So these are just things that we have to learn by being married and have to be sensitive to and have to be tolerant of as men, because women will sometimes misunderstand us and get off on tangents and get worried about things that we don't worry about. And if you say, don't, shh, if you tell a woman when she's saying things that don't make sense to you, that you're just emotional, this doesn't make sense, or worse, you're being stupid or frivolous or whatever, that's not a relationship. That's a tyrant, you see? And so that's the male tendency. That's the problem. But a real man is tolerant. A weak man is not tolerant. So the weak man gives in and calls her stupid or emotional. That's a male weakness. A strong man, he's tolerant and says, what can I do to help you? Is there anything I can do? Or she'll say something and you'll say, you think it's foolish. And say, oh, that's interesting. I never looked at it that way before. See? That means you're tolerant. That means you're not emotional. But when you get upset, that means you're being emotional. So now you're complaining about her being emotional and you're being emotional. But you as the man are meant to be less emotional because you have that side of you that can be totally intellectual. So men misunderstand that. They think being man is put her in her place. She said the wrong thing. But being man is to be kind and sensitive. That's being man, because that means you're in control. We have it completely upside down. I think man's being tough. Put her in her place. That means you're being controlled by her, because her emotions are controlling you now. But you think you're controlling by being strong, but actually you're being controlled. So sensitivity, kindness, tolerance, understanding are all actually male qualities in relation to the female. Because you can't expect the female is always going to be kind and tolerant and so forth. Because her wiring is more emotional, but your wiring is less emotional, so it's expected of you, and that stabilizes her. And that's why marriages are good, because it creates stability for women. Because men tend to be can be logical and intellectual. When a woman is in difficulty, they can help her. But if they just get mad, it defeats the purpose, because you're the one who's supposed to help her. If a man gets mad at a woman, if he gets angry at a woman, that means he's not controlled. And it means he's not smart. Because he's the protector, and you don't get mad at people you're trying to protect. So that's the understanding. Men in ISKCON are trained up in the opposite way, unfortunately. Think being tough means being in control, demanding, but that's not being male, that's being female. Those are female qualities. Demanding, right? Wives are very demanding, aren't they? They need things. If women don't have a nice home, a lot of saris, a lot of jewelry, children, they won't be settled. They're more demanding. If a man becomes as demanding as a woman, he's being female. So he's a little more detached, so he provides those things for her. He'd like to have things for himself. He sacrifices, he buys for her. That's the man, right? It's harder for the woman to do that, isn't it? Try to get your wife to stop shopping. Think you can do it? Other than groceries? Ladies, can you stop shopping? For 3 days maybe, right? A week, 2? What's the maximum? How long could you go?
Actually, we shop only when we get a shower. When we're shouted at, and I want to feel good, so we go out and buy something.
So you'll save so much money if you don't shout.
Don't shout.
Yeah. So,
One question is.
I got a question here online I want to go to, right? Okay. So Timothy says, when someone is talking to you, you naturally think it's a conversation. How do you know when it's a conversation, meaning two people talking or a listening session? Well, I know some people that just like to talk about themselves. And the reason I know they like to talk about themselves is every time I'm with them, that's what they talk about. So I just listen, because I know in that environment, that's how our friendship works. They just want to talk about what they're doing. If they ask me about what I'm doing, I don't say much. I just give them 20 seconds, because that's about as much as they could listen to. And after that, they just want to tell me about what they're doing. So that's a kind of relationship, and you just know, right? That's just how it is. Not the best relationship. And some people talk to think things out. So sometimes they talk a lot to you because they're just thinking out, and you're willing to listen, so they use you as a thought process, right? I do that a lot, but devotees like listening to me because I'm thinking out philosophically. So we're in the car, and I'm saying, I'm looking at things philosophically, but I know they like it, so I do it because it's interesting and it's helpful. But if it's a very intimate relationship, I can't do that, because relationship means sharing, right? And so you have the 6 loving exchanges, which is revealing and listening and letting the other person reveal. So that's the way you want it to be. And if you're just observant, then you'll understand that some people like to talk more and hear themselves talk than listen. And people who are good listeners will often respond to what you're saying by repeating it or expressing to you their understanding of what you said or how you feel about something. And that's an art we all don't do so well. But especially for men, it's a good art to bring into a marriage. It's the art of listening without talking, or listening and repeating. Acknowledging that you're still awake after 10 minutes, you're still listening. Now, if wives are good, they'll say, "What did I just say?" Put you on the spot. Did you hear what I just said? What did I just say? My wife. Should I answer it? Okay, I have to be a good example. It's probably my daughter. Hare Krishna. We're giving class, but I answered it just to be a good husband. You want to say anything? You want to say anything to the people here? Yeah, probably you'll be in bed when I finish. Yeah. Okay. Or Haribo. What happened when the
They were sleeping and they didn't listen.
yeah. So ladies ask him, "Did you hear what I said?" So he told a funny joke. It said, when a man is reading a newspaper, he goes deaf. During that period, he becomes deaf. Yes? Wife talks, he's deaf, doesn't hear. So he's reading the newspaper and she's sitting. Man is very independent in his own world. Wife is very dependent, relationship oriented, and she's trying to talk to him and he's deaf. And he's got a paper in front of him, she can't even see him. That's the difference between the male and the female, right? So it's the same for all males and the same for all females. So it's said that most people, when the conversation's going, they're just thinking about what they're going to say. That's just normal. They're not really listening that well. So it takes some skill and practice to learn how to listen. Especially if you're going to counsel people and you're going to help people, you have to listen because you have to know what the problem is. And if you don't listen, if you don't understand, then you may be addressing a problem that is really not their problem. So that's important for anyone. Not only counselors, but teachers, just when you're giving a class, so you understand what people are saying. So you can say, so if I understand you correctly, you're saying this. Like all of the people in India, it's so annoying. When you call from America, Hewlett Packard or Lenovo or something, you end up in Delhi, and they have their script. So you say, this is a problem with my computer, and then they read it back to you and say, so what you're saying is that when you hit the switch, the red light goes on, but the green light flashes, and your computer keeps turning off. Is that correct? And you've got like no time. You know, he's talking really slow because he's trying to get you to understand. You know. So they're trained that way, which gets quite annoying after a while. And they go, yeah, that's what I just told you. You know, it wasn't that difficult, was it? So, but they're trained to do that because that's considered proper to make sure I've understood what you've said. So it's called menu listening. You go to the restaurant, you order, and then the waiter writes everything down. So let me see if I have this straight. You order this, that, and that, and that. So sometimes all you have to do is say, okay, let me see if I have this straight. You said this, and this. I say, no, I didn't say that. Because half the time we're not listening. So you might want to do that sometimes. So if I understand, you want this, that, and the next thing. So we all can be better at listening. And to answer your question, Timothy, I would say, how do you know when someone is talking to you and not listening? You say, most of your conversations, you could know that they're a little bit like that, unless the relationship is really good. Or unless you're talking to a woman, women will probably listen better than men. That's just how they are. Yes?
Mataji is asking one question. If there is a family, all the people in the family are Krishna conscious, and they are doing so much seva, but they are not giving proper education to the child. They don't think this material education is not so
Important.
needed for the child.
Right.
Is it right attitude? If they are neglecting the child, giving proper material education, will it get them any papa karma?
Well, get them Papa Karma. She's asking if you're neglecting the material education of the child in favor of what? No education or spiritual education?
Material education so that their future will be good.
Yeah.
Regarding
Home education,
Is it-
spiritual home education.
Is it a sin? No. Because if they get good spiritual education, depends what education they're getting. If they get the education how to be strong, like in Gurukula, in Mayapur, the boys get an education on how to be strong and independent and controlled. So when they get that education, they can go out and do anything and be successful. The education most boys get at home is how to be a mama's boy and have the mama do everything, and how to be lazy and not take care of themselves. So when they go to college, you go in their room, it's a total mess because they never took care of anything. But if you follow one of those Gurukul boys to college, his room will be neat because for 15 years he washed his clothes, cleaned his room, he cooked, he did everything. So that's another view. So if they're learning, the boys are learning to be strong and independent, but generally they can't learn that at home. They have to leave home to learn that, because as long as the family are there, they won't be. They'll still be mama's boys. And you mamas will be mamas. And so Gurukul is meant to break that mold.
Last question.
Does that make sense? Jai. Yes.
During a conflict, when one person becomes angry, and like I become angry several times, and then I realized that I should not become angry. I realized that this could have been dealt with in a better way or whatever. Then at that time, how should I try to control my anger, or what should I try to do so that I do not become angry more often?
Oh, yeah. She's asking, once you realize that you became angry and it was the wrong thing to do, how do you control it? Well, first thing, you apologize, number one. And then, you see, in our workshop, we had an exercise which is called deposits and withdrawals. And every time you get angry, you withdraw. It's a withdrawal from the relationship. And every time you nice, it's a deposit. So if you understand that anger, losing control of yourself and saying things which are not nice, is a huge withdrawal in a relationship. And the marriage must be centered around enhancing the relationship and valuing the relationship. That's very important. That will help prevent you from becoming angry, because you realize this is an acid in the relationship. If we don't, I think when we get angry like that, we don't even consider that this marriage is about relationship. We just think it's about duty. And so, I take care of the kids, I keep the house clean, so I have a right to yell at my husband. He goes to work, he provides for you, he has a right to yell at you. That's a misunderstanding. See? But it's about working together in a good relationship. That's important. So you have to understand that, and that will help you. But otherwise, you feel the right that you can do that. Would you yell at your boss? Would you yell at your guru? No, of course not. Would you yell at your father? Probably not. So you can't control yourself because of the relationship. So you have to see your husband in the same way. But you think you have a right, it's okay, you have a right to yell at him, then you'll yell at him, right? But you actually don't have a right. You have a right to talk to him, you have a right to tell him what's wrong, what you need, what you expect of him. You have those rights, but not to yell. Men don't like to be yelled at by women. They don't like to be yelled at by anyone, but especially women.
Generally among the devotees, husband-wife, the main conflict is centering around the Krishna consciousness only actually. Because you want to do some sadhana, you want to do some service, and the wife is not accepting that, and maybe it's a different level. And then you have to preach, you are and the whole house is not in proper order. Then you have some frustration, and why you should just absorb and tolerate and do your duty after going preaching outside. Or
No, you should yell. You should yell at her. You should get angry with her. You should get pots and beat her on the head.
just tolerate and
No, you should think it's your fault. You're not inspiring her.
you'll be attending the classes, Sunday classes, not doing anything. But
No, it's because you have to think you're not you have to think you're not inspiring her.
why everyone
Stop thinking about her and think about you.
everyone has a free will now. You can't force them. They have free will.
You can inspire. You can't force, but you can inspire. And if she doesn't want to do it, what can you do?
Most of the family this is a conflict. It is Sunday and Krishna consciousness only.
No. Not necessarily.
Nicely fine, this is just
Not necessarily that. Some families have conflicts about money. Some families have conflicts about duty, who should do what. So this is, I think there are different varieties of conflict, but it's again if you focus on the relationship, then you'll get the answer. You'll know what to do. Because you don't want to do anything to destroy the relationship. So great. You'll get your wife to keep everything just the way you want it and preach and all this, and she'll be completely upset and do it reluctantly, and you'll have to yell at her to get her to do it, and then you'll have a nice program at your house when you invite all the people over and you're both completely agitated. And you'll pretend to be, Haribol, everybody. Welcome to our happy home. So what's the point? Right? It's not about her doing exactly what you want and exactly supporting you. It's about a relationship. Do that first. Then other things will come from that. But you're trying to do it without the relationship, so you have to do it by force. So then she'll do it begrudgingly, and the relationship erodes. And year after year, the relationship gets worse. Right? Was your relationship better 4 years ago? 4 years ago, was your relationship better? It's better now? It was bad 4 years ago and it's bad now.
Actually, I just feel it's called this kind of barrier in our society, Kabbalah society. There's a relationship is strained. There's a barrier even among the devotees, among the families, among the children.
But that's our fault.
There's a lot of
That's our fault.
There's a lot of impetus and pressure on sadhana compared to pressure on relationship.
Yeah.
There's so much pressure is applied. Get up in the morning and chant your own, read Bhagavatam, take
But the 6 kinds of loving exchanges, it's all about relationship.
That's not that.
Start at home. Start with this lady, lovely lady sitting next to you. Go buy her a gift tomorrow. Cook prasadam for her and feed her. When was the last time you cooked prasadam?
I just cook a monthly 3 days.
Good.
Make only rice.
So cook her and cook, not cook her, cook for her, and reveal your mind, how much you love her.
I used to tell, let's get prasad from other devotees. No, you only make Tuesday.
So what was the whole point of the workshop? The whole point of the workshop was don't focus on your wife, focus on yourself. Yes?
So, final advice to all of us, towards devotees, and what we should do in Krishna consciousness study in this area.
Be examples. Be an example.
To others.
And start at the home. Make your home life an example. Be nice, be kind, be compassionate. Don't put anyone in your family into distress. Focus on developing good relationship. Everything will work out from that platform. You won't have to worry. Don't control everything. If you get up at 4 and your wife gets up at 5, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You will still make it through the day. Different people have different minds and different bodies. Some bodies need to sleep more, some need to sleep less. Some bodies are more austere, some are less austere. Right? It's just, so we have to accept that. We all have a nature. You don't want to make life miserable for the person you live with. Krishna won't be happy with you. Right? Well, how do you think I make life miserable for my spouse and that Krishna's going to be pleased? That's like crazy. Where did that idea come from? Who thought that one up? Right? How can we even think that way? But it's crazy, right?
Speculation. Everywhere.
Not even speculation, it's insanity, if you think about it. But some of these ideas are, pervading within society, even within our society, and so we think we have a right to do that. Okay, so I think, yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
With everyday with material life, maintaining the everyday with material life, how can you improve along with in spiritual this work?
How can you improve your spiritual life? By creating a balance. He's asking, how do you improve along with your material life, how do you improve your spiritual life? We put so much time into our material life, right? So we have to balance it with spiritual life. So most people, material life is up here on the scale and spiritual life is here. They got to kind of bring it more equal. So it's an imbalance. The most important thing is actually the spiritual, because whatever spiritual advancement you make is the only thing you take with you. So whatever you're accumulating now, by neglecting your spiritual life, you don't get to keep it. Kind of stupid, right? And the thing you get to keep, you're not taking with you, you're not working on it. You're not collecting it, developing it, right? So if you understand that, then you'll start to make time for your spiritual life. Every day, every morning, before you go out in the world, you should be chanting, reading, praying like that. That's just normal life.
Spiritual is the education or hearing the preaching or doing the service.
Service, sadhana, chanting, reading, helping other people. You just plan it out in your day. Sadhana means you plan in your day, like you plan everything you have to do. You plan in your day for time with Krishna. In the morning is best. Before you go to work is best. Otherwise, you're getting up and you're facing the world. And what did you face in the world with? A cup of tea, a piece of toast, and a newspaper. And then you go out in the world. So what kind of life is that? You face it with the holiness. You get up, you bathe, you do some puja, some chanting, some reading. Bhagavatam, not newspaper. Then you're ready to face the world, because now you've been with Krishna. You imagine, every day you got up, you went to a place where Krishna was there, and you had a conversation. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't your life be different if you could do that every day? The way you would deal with people, the way you would see yourself. So that's what sadhana is. In the morning, you're hearing about Krishna, you're chanting about Krishna. It's like being with Krishna. Yes? So if you avoid that, then you miss an appointment with Krishna. Every day you don't do sadhana, you missed your appointment. That's a loss, right? So we want to keep our appointment every day. Yes? Don't miss your appointment with Krishna every morning. Okay, so I think we're going to end here, right? Oh, it's time to cut the cake. Well, they can't see online because they're only hearing. So, whose birthday is it?
You can see the cake.
The video's not on.
Oh.
Anniversary? Whose anniversary? His anniversary. So, was there chilies in the cake? Just to be aligned? Just to be aligned with the nature of the marriage. Some chilies and some ginger and black pepper. Okay, so we're going to sign off so we can cut the cake. Thank you all for coming, and we will see you. Hope this class helped you all be nice. If you're not nice, I won't like you. I won't say hello when I see you if you're not nice to your husband or wife, or your husband and wife to be. Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.